My sister-in-law was standing in my kitchen when I got the call. Not visiting, not borrowing sugar, living there. Except I hadn't given anyone a key in 4 years, and I was 2 states away when my phone lit up with my niece's voice, asking why there were strangers unpacking boxes into her bedroom. Here's the part nobody in my family knew yet. 3 weeks earlier, I'd stopped being the owner of that house. I'd signed it away myself, on purpose, to someone else entirely, and I hadn't told a single one of them. By the time they figured that out, it was already too late to undo it, and 1 phone call away from becoming the loudest afternoon my family had ever had on a stranger's front lawn. I'm Nora Whitfield. I'm 36. And this is the story of the year my family tried to hand out a house that wasn't theirs, and what it cost them to find that out in public. The house was on Birchwood Lane, a narrow 2-story I bought at 29, alone, on a hospital nurse's salary that made the loan officer raise an eyebrow. I painted every room myself. I learned to patch drywall from a stranger on the internet at 1 a.m. after a double shift. My family visited exactly 3 times in 6 years. 3. I want you to hold on to that number, because it comes back around. In my family, showing up wasn't really the custom. We did holidays at my parents' place in Danbury. Always, no exceptions. My mother's rule since before I could talk. My house wasn't a place people came to. It was a place people assumed would eventually be useful. In April, I got offered a fellowship in Portland, the kind that comes once, if you're lucky, in a whole career. I said yes on the spot. Then I did the quiet, boring thing nurses and accountants both do when their hearts are somewhere their paperwork isn't yet. I made a plan. I found a young couple through a coworker, first-time buyers, tired of losing bidding wars, thrilled to skip the circus of showings. We closed in 19 days. Quiet, clean, no sign in the yard. I planned to tell my family in person, gently, on my terms. I never got the chance. 2 days after the closing, at my niece's birthday party, my mother tapped a fork against her wine glass and said she had an announcement. My older sister Deb, recently separated, staying in my parents' guest room with her 2 kids, was, as of next month, moving into my house. She said it like a gift she was proud of. She'd already picked which bedroom went to which kid. She said the words that still ring in my ears. "You've got all that space going to waste." Nobody asked me a single question. I smiled. I ate my cake, and I said absolutely nothing about the fact that the house didn't belong to me anymore. I want to be honest about why I stayed quiet, because it wasn't cowardice, it was math. If I corrected her at that table, in front of 12 relatives and a half-eaten sheet cake, it wouldn't have registered as a fact. It would have registered as a problem to be managed, negotiated, guilt-tripped out of me. I gave myself 1 week to tell them privately. My mother gave me 2 days to lose that window entirely. By Wednesday, she'd told the whole extended family group chat. By Thursday, my sister was texting me paint swatches for her new kitchen. By Friday, my mother had gotten a spare key I'd given her years ago for emergencies. Copied. 3 sets, bright and shiny, tied with string, sitting in a bowl on her counter like party favors. I tried once, at my parents' kitchen table, coffee going cold between us. "Mum, before anything moves forward, there's something about the house you need to know." She cut me off before I finished the sentence. "Don't do this, Nora. Your sister has nowhere else to go." That was a lie, and I knew it. Deb had an offer on an apartment 2 towns over she hadn't told anyone about, because my mother's house came free, and mine came freer. I folded the truth back into my pocket and drove home, not because I was weak, because I understood something in that moment I hadn't fully let myself see. My mother wasn't going to hear a fact. She was going to hear an attack. And I wasn't ready for the war that would follow if I lit that fuse without a plan. Over the next 2 weeks, My family did what families like mine do. They didn't ask, they executed. My sister sent me a photo of bunk beds on sale. My mother mailed my niece's school transfer forms to the district near Birchwood Lane, address already filled in her own handwriting, never once asking whose address it actually was anymore. My father, who says maybe 10 words a week, said exactly 2 to me on the phone. Just let her. Then came the moment that finally cracked something loose in me. I drove past the house on a Sunday and saw my sister's car in the driveway. She'd let herself in with the copied key. She was in my kitchen, someone else's kitchen now, measuring windows for curtains. I sat in my car outside a house I no longer legally owned, watching my sister plan a life inside walls she had no claim to, and I understood I had run out of gentle options. I called the new owners that night. A young couple, Priya and Marcus, thrilled first-time buyers who had no idea what they'd just walked into. I told them everything: the copied keys, the moving truck my mother had already reserved, the fact that my family fully believed the house was still, functionally, mine to give away. Marcus asked one question: "Are they dangerous?" "No," I said, "just certain." That was almost worse. They rekeyed the locks the next morning. Priya said something I've never forgotten: "We'll be kind, but this is our home now." The night before the move-in date my family had circled on a calendar I wasn't consulted on, I sat with a text drafted to my mother. Short, true, final. The house sold in May. New owners move in tomorrow. Please cancel the truck. My thumb hovered over send for 11 minutes. Here's what I understood. Sitting there, if I sent it, my mother would simply pivot. A new grievance, a new guilt campaign, a new version of me owing this family something. If I didn't send it, tomorrow would be loud and public and impossible to spin. I deleted the message, letter by letter, and turned my phone face down. For the first time in my life, I let the truck drive toward the wall instead of catching it myself. At 8:52 the next morning, my niece called me crying, asking why a stranger was standing in our doorway, telling her family to leave. I was already 2 states away. I couldn't do a single thing but listen on speakerphone as my mother's voice rose on a lawn that wasn't hers to stand on. Deb rattled a key that opened nothing, and Priya, calm, steady, absolutely unshaken, repeated the same 6 words over and over. "We bought this house in May." My mother laughed, the appalled kind, the kind she uses on people she's decided are lying to her face. And that's the exact moment my mother learned that the daughter who never says no had, in fact, already said it. 3 weeks earlier, in a title office, with her own signature. The fallout wasn't clean. My mother didn't apologize. My sister didn't either. Not at first. What I got instead was a family group chat that turned on me overnight, an aunt calling me selfish, and 2 straight weeks of my mother's silence, which from her is a weapon sharper than shouting. What I also got, my father, 3 weeks later, telling me on the phone, voice low, that when he was young his own mother had done something almost identical to his sister, and he'd never said a word about it either. Some patterns don't start with you, they just finally end with you. I didn't send Deb a check to smooth things over. I didn't apologize for a decision I never should have had to justify. What I did do, and this is the part I'm proud of, was open a savings account for my niece and nephew directly. Money that goes to them, not through anyone's hands but mine, and eventually, theirs. It's been 5 months. My mother and I speak, carefully, in short sentences that don't touch the house. My sister found her own apartment, the one she never told anyone she could actually afford. My niece drew me a picture last month of a new house, one with a lake behind it, and wrote across the top, "Come visit for real this time." I used to think love meant handing over whatever your family pointed at. Now I know. A house, a yes, a key. None of it means anything if you were never actually asked. If someone in your life is treating your future like it's theirs to distribute, you're allowed to say no before they find out the hard way. Tell me in the comments what you would have done standing on that lawn. And if this story hit close to home, subscribe. The next one might hit closer.